can tell it's a first printing because my name is spelled wrong.
Your name's spelled wrong on this?
Yeah, it's supposed to be 2 R's. Hi, my name is David Megarry. I'm the author of the Dungeon Fantasy board game, and I was part of David Arneson's Blackmoor group. I would say that it was watching David Arneson struggle being the only referee and for hours and hours on Saturdays. And when he unfortunately answered the phone once and people sort of realized that they didn't have to physically be with him. Now, rather than 1 day a week, it could be 7 days a week. I looked at that and said, how could I eliminate the referee so that David Arneson could play his own game? And the circumstance for its creation was sort of a combination of a personal story in my life. I didn't graduate from when I was supposed to. I was 3 classes short. This was back in 1972. The draft was still on, and my draft number in the lottery was 51. So I was given a draft notice. I went to my pre-induct, and they measured me wrong, but I didn't understand that measuring was going to make a difference. My induction was in September of 1972, and they finally weighed me and measured my height, and I was too thin for the height that I was. And they said, we're not drafting you. And then when I went home, my mother, with tears of joy, because I wasn't going off to the Vietnam to be killed, but then when I visited my girlfriend, not so much.
Gotcha.
And about 6 weeks later, she dumped me.
Oh, no.
And so the combination of that, I didn't know what my life was going to be like. When you're in the Army, you know what your life is going to be like for 3 years, and that. So now I'm moored on what I was going to be doing immediately in my life. I hadn't finished my degree, so I did not have a degree, and then now the emotional loss of companionship of my girlfriend, it was devastating for me. I went back to home, and I had this idea of looking at Arneson struggling, and I just got, in my grief, I just got into the creating something. And I looked at what is that Arneson was giving us, and how do I get rid of the referee? And those were the sort of the steps of the analyzing what he was giving to us, and how to help create the board game. It was a 72-hour process. I started on a Friday night, about 5 or 6 o'clock, and I finished sometime Monday morning. I had 2 short sessions of sleep. I got into I call it a flow state. Time just collapses. You get to be so efficient, and so I'm busy cutting out construction paper, the rooms and the pathways, and designing the pathways as I had a very larger poster board. I cut it into thirds, and so there's 9 panels. And I started in the first level is the middle panel, and then I just went around to create different sort of pathways and room structures, to figure out where the stairways were going to go, and then I came up with the combat monsters. I couldn't be there to say, you open the door and a troll steps out. So I came up with the ideas of having a card, and then we also find treasures. So then I said came up with a prize card, as that's how I could do that. And then the fact that you would randomly put them out allowed replayability, and we, and then I played the game, sort of play test after I was asleep, and I realized I had actually solved all the problems and created a dungeon. The following weekend was Thanksgiving, and I took it down to Arneson's basement and introduced it to the people that were there. Arneson played it. I think he won the first game, and so he enjoyed it, and so I was successful in my the goal was to could Arneson play his own game, and that's how that came about.
That's awesome. And then talk to me. We're at DaveCon, so talk to me about Dave Arneson, and talk to me about his legacy as we gather here. We're gaming. I mean, talk about the memories you have of Dave, and just kind of what kind of a friend was he to you?
Well, at first it was I was dragged down to the basement by Tim Kirkpatrick. Tim was on the French team, and there was a battle with the French army against the English. I'm not exactly sure who the opponent was. But at the very first time I saw David was coming down the stairs. When you come into the house, Mrs. Arneson is usually in the kitchen. She says, down the stairs, because she didn't want us to go out into the rest of the house. And I go down the stairs, and it's a paneled room. The ping pong tables in the middle. It's covered with all these miniatures. And then back in the back of the room on a couch sat David Arneson, the referee. And that was the first time I ever saw him. Over a time of doing the battles and changing relationships of the Napoleonics, ultimately we started to be more friends. And once he started Blackmoor, he decided to use me as sort of experimenting with different ideas about how to do Blackmoor activities. And so I got to spend a lot of time with him just doing one-on-one dungeon expeditions. And he also had developed a relationship with the company that did outdoor survival. It's not Avalon Hill, it's the one before that, and I can't remember the names anymore. But and they sent him an advance copy, and so he swore me to secrecy, and so we were, after everybody else went away, we would drag out the outdoor survival, and then he would try different methods of me going on expeditions out into overland, and so that's one of the reasons why my H.W. Dumbo was the wealthiest character I ever had, and over time I actually became more of a confidant in David's life. As he ran into his troubles, we would discuss strategies for the different legal and contract problems that he was having. But that sort of went when he ran into the having to close Adventure Games down. He had to move. He went out to California, and he was out there for quite a few years. And when he came back, we didn't see each other as much, but we would still discuss any issues that he was having. He knew how to be decisive when he had actually understood the issues, So that's why I think gaming for him was very comfortable to become the referee. He was a little rough at the beginning because he was just a high school kid when he started. But as he got more experienced, he became he had great ability on sizing up players and what they would do in any gaming situation. So it was very difficult to play a game with him because he actually understood something about you and you wouldn't necessarily understand about him. So, but the other, he was frustrated a lot about his creativity. He was more of a idea man than an execution guy, and that I think that over time that became a real I'll just say it was a frustration for him. That and it sort of reflected in that he had to have people support him in getting things done. So.
And then talk to me. We've got the other David that just made an entrance behind you. You got David.
Yeah, Wesley.
You have David
Megarry.
And then we've got David Arneson.
That's
so
right.
We've got the three Davids. So talk to me about that aspect when you guys, all become good friends and you're all gaming together. And it's like, did you guys just go by last names for you guys? Or?
Oh yeah, no, you never said Dave, because that was always the joke I had was that never say which one. We all answer if somebody said Dave, we'd all answer at the same time. So it was Wesley, Megarry, Arneson, and that carried on even into when we formed game company. We formed a computer gaming company, and so it was always Megarry. I eventually took over the company, and so I'm still Megarry. Wesley and I are really good. We like to talk, especially physics and science. So we even worked together at an occasion when we were getting into consulting, and we'd have at our break times we would just sort of talk theory. I'm sort of a fan of cold fusion, and one of the things that always intrigued me was the Pons and Fleischmann experiment, which was debunked, terribly debunked, because the outcome never turned out the way they wanted. And Wesley and I got the idea, well, maybe there's something else going on. And so I went to Wesley and I said, what else could be happening here? And that's when I had him do the analysis of the materials that was used in the experiment, and we would spend hours sort of going through the different possibilities we eventually figured out that there probably was a tunneling, and I even got him to write a paper, and I got it published in a little local rag. But that was so. Those are the type of things we would talk about. And, I think we had just an understanding of how to do gaming. We enjoyed playing games together. But
Talk to me about, you have one of the greatest hats I've ever seen. Talk to me, did the hat find you, or did you find the hat? Like, who found it?
Well, the hat was mostly due to my wife. Rose was part of the historic recreation groups here in Minnesota, and they did the 8. She worked for the Minnesota Historical Society, and we're out at the Oliver H. Kelly farm, and it was old and timey, so they had these type of straw hats out there, and I just liked hats. I mean, I've been wearing hats since college, and I sort of realized that as time went on, it actually was became a trademark. People do comment that when I come on the scene, they see the hat first. Oh, Megarry's here, right? that was a deliberate thing on my part. Not, I do like wearing straw hats, and so that's so it was. It does keep the sun off, and that gets to be important later. This is the first edition, first printing. You can tell it's the first printing because my name is spelled wrong.
Your name's spelled wrong on this?
Yeah, it's supposed to be 2 R's.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
So since TSR like published it, did you get on to Gary like, hey, why is my name spelled wrong?
well, Gary had he was really mad apparently.
Oh, I see.
He wrote a little note that sort of said, "I'll kill the printers," right?
That's fun.
The second printing, they decided to fix it,
Very nice.
and they added another. They knew they had to add another letter, so they added another G and not the R. So the second printing is you can tell it's the second printing.
Yeah.
And then the third printing, they just mixed because they didn't bother trying to fix it. It wasn't until the big box in 1982 that they finally fixed it.
Gotcha. Cool. And then so we got Dungeon, and then these are the cards you talked about, right?
Yeah. Prize cards, the first level, they were color coded. That was an innovation by the design, the graphic designer. That was an excellent design decision because it makes setting up and taking down the game. I just had the levels on the cards themselves. It's very difficult to really set them up. So it was really wonderful that they did the color coding. The map is basically the way I designed it, except for the crypt. Gary, I had no big room in that area of the dungeon. They also modified some of the first level, but basically the game word is the same, and it's the same still today after 51 years.